Welcome everyone to this wonderful meeting of Tigertales Toastmasters. Today, for the first time, Grant is going to be our Toastmaster for the day. Let's all welcome Grant to lead us through this meeting.
Thank you, Ajita. And yes, this is my first time being the Toastmaster, so forgive me for the obvious mistakes I make. For those who aren't already aware, these meetings are generally split up into three main sections. The first section is the prepared speeches, in where people who have had the opportunity to prepare their speech will be presenting it to us all. The second section is the table topics section, and that is where anybody can participate in giving an impromptu speech. The third section is the evaluations. The evaluators in today's meeting will be taking notes of all the speeches given, the prepared speeches specifically, and they will be giving their evaluations as to what they thought of them. The theme of the day is maybe it's time. Maybe it's time to do something new or try something new. Maybe it's time to do something different than what we have been doing for so long. And maybe it's time to start this meeting for real. But before I can do that, I'd like to introduce the three primary functionaries, and that is the timer, counter, and grammarian. So, Mr. Timer, Cyril, could you explain the timing rules for our speeches today?
Thank you, Mr. Toastmasters. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Someone once said that time isn't the only thing, time actually the main thing. So here at Toastmaster, we are really considerate about time, and we are making sure that people actually measure their performance. And to do so, today I will be tracking your time while you are, and I will be providing the report when you finish. So for the prepared speeches, the time is from 5 to 7 minutes, and for the table topics, it's 2 to 3 minutes. For the prepared speeches, at 1 minute, I will show this green ticket, and at 6 minutes, I will show this yellow one, and at 7 minutes, I will show this one, and you will have 22.
Thank you, Mr. Timer. Your video was a little bit wanky on my side. I don't know if it was just my side. Just a heads up, though. Let's see. Now let's go on to our counter. Mr. Counter, that's going to be Alex. Could you explain to us what you'll be looking out for in today's meeting?
I sure can. Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, and our most welcome guests. I am the counter. I'll be looking for filler words and unnecessary words, like double words or that like that I did just there. All those words that take away from our message. And I'll also be looking for other places that our words, extra words, take away from the power of our message. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Alex. Now for our grammarian. Mr. Grammarian Sridhar, could you explain to us what you'll be looking out for in today's meeting?
Sure. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests, as grammarian, it's my responsibility to listen carefully to the language usage, and I'll take note of any improper language usage, and as well as any outstanding words, quotes, or sayings. And as a grammarian, it's my duty to introduce the word of the day. And for today's meeting, the word is transfigure, which means to transform into something beautiful or elevated. And as a sentence, you can use it as she gazed down at the baby, her face was transfigured with happiness. Each speaker is encouraged to use the word of the day. And at the end, I'll give a grammarian report about the usage of word of the day and also the language. Thank you.
Thank you, Sridhar. Now I'd like to begin the first portion of today's meeting, and that is the prepared speeches. beginning with the speaker, Bhakti. Bhakti is going to be evaluated by Hassan. So Hassan, could you please tell us what you'll be looking out for in Bhakti's speech today?
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Grant. Bhakti is working on the researching and presenting project in level 1 of presentation mastery pathways. Actually, she's repeating a speech that she delivered 2 weeks ago, and she would like to transfigure the speech. Thank you. So the objective for the speech is to do research about the topic and to present a speech about it.
Thank you, Hassan. Now, let's see. I asked all of our prepared speakers one question, and that is, what's one thing you've been pushing off doing or trying? When I asked Bhakti that, she told me that she wanted to learn Japanese. She's been pushing that off. And she said it was one of the hardest languages to learn. So Bhakti, kudos to you if you want to pursue that, but all power to you. With that being said, Bhakti's speech is going to be titled History of Anime. History of Anime, Bhakti.
Before I start, I would like to request everyone to switch to speaker view if possible. So when you think about your childhood, one of the images that pop up may look something like this. But some of the adults, like me, still watch these cartoons, but it looks something like this. And we have a very fancy term for it called anime. But what is anime? Mr. Toastmasters, fellow Toastmasters, and guests. Anime is animation in Japanese. All the cartoon and animations that you have seen is an anime. This is an anime. It's the rest of the world that differentiates between a cartoon and an anime. And it's mostly due to the artistic style used to design these characters. The one on the left might be considered as a cartoon, while one on the right is considered an anime. But in reality, both of these are a cartoon as well as an anime. The purpose of today's speech is to look at history of Japanese cartoon, and hence the term anime here relates to Japanese cartoon. I was first introduced to anime with Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, which was one of the most famous shows back then, both in and out of Japan. But anime was not always available to the rest of the world. To know its history, the best place to start is during World War II. During World War II, people of Japan were forced to conform to the government's demand, or they had to pay the ultimate price. According to Frederick Short's book, those who failed to, just a minute. Are you able to see the presentation? Okay. Those who failed to cooperate were punished by preventive detention, bans on writing, and social ostracism, while those who recanted were rewarded with rehabilitation program and support from the community. Artists who spent most of their life criticizing the government did an about face and offered wholeheartedly the support to military. During the 1940s, many organizations were formed by cartoonists and artists, and the government used these organizations to create comic strips that were filled with their propaganda. Also during this time, a young artist named Osamu Tezuka released his first artwork named Shintaka Rajima, which translates to A New Treasure Island. Osamu's artwork was considered unique, and he was highly influenced by Walt Disney's early animation. But it was not until he released his ultimate work, Astro Boy, that he gained so much success that today he is known as father of animation and manga. His artwork in Astro Boy was highly influenced by French and German illustrations. And it achieved so much success that by 1963, Astro Boy was broadcasted across several countries in the world. The 80s saw emergence of major studios that were groundbreakers and trendsetters. But the leader unquestionably is Hayao Miyazaki. This is Hayao Miyazaki, who founded Studio Ghibli in 1985. His films are seen all around the world and have won numerous awards, including an Oscar for Spirited Away. The 90s saw exportation and broadcast of several animated series across various countries, which made an impression on a generation of children. The die-hard fans would import discs and tapes, add subtitles electronically, and had their own unofficial tape trading club in which members were few but highly devoted. And then came the internet, which was the highest driver for distribution of anime. For decades, anime was only available to die-hard fans who were willing to hunt rare and imported VHS tapes to get their animation fix. But today, due to expanded licensing, anime is bigger than ever. Today, anime is available in almost every streaming services out there. The impact of anime is hard to quantify, but a look at today's pop culture shows anime's footprint everywhere. Anime is not limited to a generation and certainly not limited to a genre. My favorite anime of all time is not Full Metal Alchemist, but Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. There is an immense variety of anime out there, and I'm sure you can find one that you like, your parents like, your children like, and even your dogs will like. The anime that we see in the future will have less resemblance to what came before it, but that's because anime evolves and lives as the society produced it and as the world savors it. I am sorry for any mispronunciation in the speech. Over to you, Toastmaster.
Thank you, Bhakti. Now I'd like Mr. Timer to put 1 minute on the clock so that we can all send feedback to Bhakti. Again, that's in a private message using Zoom's chat feature to send anything you liked about the speech, any improvements you think could be made, or anything like that. So Mr. Timer, could you please alert me when that 1 minute is up? Okay, thank you, Mr. Timer. Hopefully you've all sent feedback, and that was a wonderful speech, Bhakti. Now let's move on to our second prepared speaker. That is Xavier, and evaluating Xavier is Kelly. Kelly, could you tell us what you'll be looking out for in Xavier's speech?
Hi. Xavier is going to be doing his first speech in level 4 of the dynamic leadership pathway. The goal is to talk about a change in the past or the future that was managing. And he is talking about using a platform called Notion and making it work as a system for change. The goal is to highlight this, but not get away from the heart of his speech, which goes right with his title that Grant will tell us about in a moment, But I'm looking forward to hearing this speech. It sounds like he did a lot of preparation and has a lot to share with us about change. So I'll be looking for those things to come out in the speech tonight. Best wishes, Xavier. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Kelly. Now, I asked Xavier the same question that I asked Bhakti, and that is, what's one thing you've been pushing off doing or trying? And Xavier said he wants to try having a garden. He had a garden when he was a kid. He grew tomatoes, or including tomatoes, and I'd imagine that Xavier wants to rekindle that interest in gardening. So, best of luck to you, Xavier, and your speech title is Maybe It's Time to Change. Maybe it's time to change, Xavier.
"2020 has been a huge year of change for me. I went all the way from over here being a struggling student all the way to over here, a struggling member of a startup. And I swear, they're different. As a student, the tasks were right in front of my face. There was always something due. It felt like there was always a deadline tomorrow, that I had to get this done. But as a member of a startup, it's a lot more flexible. Nothing's really due, but we have these focuses that we want to get to. In addition, my time is not blocked out in the same sort of way. I can take a nap in the middle of the day, but I can also stay up and work all night. And this is a huge change between these two systems. And what I'm pretty sure about, Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmaster, most welcome guest, is that 2020 has been a big year of change for you. Even if nothing else changed beside a world pandemic, I'm sure you have gone from going out and about, socializing with the people, now to your own little space in your room where we're doing these web calls. But the best part about change is this. Imagine you're going down this road that you've been going down for a long time, and then change happens, and suddenly there's a split in this road. And on this right side over here, you have this sign that says, okay, well, you can keep going and doing the same thing that you were doing before. Or this other side of the road, there's a sign that says, maybe it's time to change. This is an opportunity to transfigure yourself, transform into something higher than you were before. But how do you do this? Is it worth it to change? These are great questions. And from my journey of this year, I want to give some advice. The first thing is, if you want to change, the first thing you should do is reflect on what you want to actually change. What are you serious about changing? The second thing is to bring a buddy. And I can talk about these two. For me, this year, I had this dream of having a boundless perspective. This idea of seeing all of my dreams that could come to reality and taking these little steps along the way to get there. And my buddy this year has been Alex, and we've been getting together and really kind of working through this. And the third thing you need is a system. At first, Alex and I have been using these best self journals, and they've been awesome. They kind of gave us a system that we could have habits in, and through 90 days, we were going through all of these goals. So this is our third one actually for this year. What I found though, is there could be improvements. And the first thing is it doesn't do a good job connecting the journals. That you get through the first 90 days feeling great, but then there's no reflection on how to go to the next 90 days. Second thing is, gosh darn it, I'm an RIT student. Why am I doing this manual thing? That's where Notion comes in. This free tech that can basically capture all of the creativity and dreams in one spot for me. Imagine if Trello, Google Drive, and Google Calendar had a baby. Its name is Notion. So I had all of these wild fantasies of this Notion platform working for me. It would work in my life operating system with Alex. It would work in the startup that we were going about with Freedom and Justin. I just had one problem. I had to convince them to jump on board. 3 people stood in my way of going towards this stream. Freedom, Justin, the 2 members of my startup, and Alex. And each one I had to approach a little bit differently of how to actually move forward with this system. You guys who know Preetam, you know he's a visionary. He likes seeing the big picture of things and doesn't like the details of the work. So the way that I had to talk to him about it is, okay, Preetam, here is this vision, and there's this work, but I'm going to take care of that. You just have to worry about this. And it's free. I had him at free, but the whole vision stuff was definitely worth it. The second person was Justin. And to describe Justin to you, he likes getting the little things done and taking advantage of that. He doesn't really like visualizing it. He just likes seeing actions and attacking them. But if they're long ones and they're like staring him in the face, that is not good for Justin. So in order to be able to help him kind of transfigure into something better, I made all these small tasks so he can have the satisfaction of checking them off because he likes seeing things actually get done. The third person, Alex, you know him. As soon as I suggested the idea, he was right on board. I actually had to pull the brakes a little bit, saying, okay, look, there is a few things that I'm going to have to get done before we can actually jump in and do this. But I am so excited that you're excited because I'm excited. And that is the three influences that I had to conquer. But the third place that I hope that it goes is through transformation of myself, through this clean, organized platform, I can help inspire other people to change as well. Maybe it's time for me to change, and now that's happening. So now, what I put forward is, maybe it's time for you to change. And I could get into the tech, but you can see me afterwards. I'll even send a link of how I used Notion to prepare for this Toastmaster speech. But the thing I want you to take away is maybe it's time for you to change, and maybe Notion's the solution. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Xavier, for that speech. Maybe it is time to change. Now, if Mr. Timer could put 1 minute on the clock for speech or feedback. Thank you, Mr. Timer. Hopefully everybody submitted their feedback. Let's move on to the final prepared speech of today's meeting, and that's going to be Alasera. Evaluating Alasera's speech is Preetam. If Preetam could tell us what he'll be looking out for in Alasera's speech, that would be great.
Absolutely. So Alasera is working on a path that is focusing on coaching. So his evaluation, I'll be looking at improvement through positive coaching. The purpose of Alasera's speech today is for him to develop and apply skills for coaching a fellow member or a person outside of Toastmasters who can benefit from his expertise. The second purpose is for Alasera to share some of his experience of coaching someone and helping them improve. So that is what I'll be looking for, and looking forward to hearing Alasera's speech.
Thank you, Preetam. I asked Alasera the same question that I asked the other two speakers, and that is, what's one thing you've been pushing off doing or trying? And he responded back saying that he wanted to try being indifferent to the world, or in other words, unaffected by the world. That sounds like a very interesting task. Alasara's speech is titled, Maybe It's Time to Transfigure Your Reality. Maybe it's time to transfigure your reality. Alasara. You are currently muted, Alasara.
I was, maybe I will be. This flock of birds, from la crème de la crème up to the public school birds. Who are those birds? Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, distinguished guests. We were as low as someone could be, tasked to form the Mali's first ever national robotics team. Our student knew nothing, neither did we. And what could go wrong? We said, this could be interesting. Our first lesson was how to lie. That's what we taught our students. Among those birds were this tiny little bird shivering with a cage that it puts itself in. You may be wondering, why is this bird shivering? Is it raining? No. Is it snowing? No. Is it shivering? Yes. It is shivering, but why? I want to know why, but I knew already why. Because not very long ago, I was this bird. Coming from a public school is not pleasant, because just saying it sounds weird in Mali. Because you couldn't get worse than that. If you know anything about me, you know that I am lazy. What did I do? As the programming coach, I made sure that they knew exactly what they needed to know so that they can be doing what they had to do, so that I can be more lazy. Of these birds, they had a task at hand, which couldn't have been accomplished if all the birds were not involved. And because of this bird, shivering bird, weighing on the others, and having been this bird before, I said Jigiba. And his name, when translated, means great hope, which definitely he was not reflecting that. But the potential in him was huge. And if you had a potential meter, it would just pop, boom. But how did I get there? Because I was coached. By whom? By my uncle, to whom questions you only had two answers, either saying yes or saying yes. And Jigiba, I said, Jigiba, do you see these birds? He's, yes. I said, how many heads do they have? He said, one. I said, how many heads do you have? He said, one. I said, then what is the matter? You are entitled to be here as they are. It's not because they are de la crème de la crème. Then you are from public school that you have to feel inferior. No, that's madness. Level up. And I saw Cyril's red card, which transfigured to be green now. Jigiba's contribution to the team was among us, to the point that at the competition, Mali placed second against a field of 160 nations worldwide. For one thing, from a shivering bird with his imaginary cage around him, preventing itself from flying, I just killed it. And like a phoenix, from its ashes, emerged Jigiba, flying. If Jigiba was able to do that, it's time for all of us to transfigure our reality and be finishes. Mr. Toastmaster.
Thank you, Sarah, for that wonderful speech. Now I'd like to have 1 minute on the clock for speech feedback. If you could send that to Sarah. Thank you, Mr. Timer. Hopefully the feedback has been submitted. Now that we've finished that first portion of today's meeting, I'd like to move on to the table topics portion. And our table topics master for today is Tanai, or more specifically, not Tanai, as his username is on Zoom right now. Now I asked Tanai the same question that I asked the three prepared speakers, and that is, what's one thing you've been pushing off doing or trying? Tanai said that he wanted to try learning the ukulele. And to me, that sounds like a perfect thing to try doing in your free time, a good hobby to pick up. So good for you. With that being said, I'd like to turn control over to Tanai to handle the table topics portion.
Hello, everyone. So let's move on to the next section of the meeting, which is table topics. So let me introduce what table topics section is. It's an impromptu section where I will ask a question and anybody in the audience can volunteer to answer that question. And based on certain rules that will go on, that will tell you in some time, you will be nominated for best table topic speaker. So before we begin, let's hear the timing rules of table topics today. by a timer. Mr. Timer, can you tell us what the table topics rules are?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. For the table topics, the time is 1 to 2 minutes, not 2 to 3 minutes. Thank you, Hassan, for signaling that. So at 1 minute, I will show the green ticket. At 1 minute and a half, I will show the yellow ticket. And at 2 minutes, I will show the red ticket, and you will have 15 minutes to wrap up. Somebody can correct if that's not right. Thank you.
30 seconds to wrap up.
30 seconds.
And now, Mr. Grammarian, can you remind us about the word of the day so that the volunteers would know about it?
Sure. So the word of the day is transfigure, which means to transform into something more beautiful or elevated. And you can use it in a sentence as she gazed down at the baby, her face was transfigured with happiness. The table topic speakers are encouraged to use the word of the day to win a virtual treat. Thank you.
Thank you. So remember that if you want to be nominated for the best table topic speaker, you have to be A and a time and B use the word of the day. So today's questions, I will just give you a little idea about what they will be. They will be about life and life experiences. That's it. I'll not tell you anything more. So who wants to go next? Who wants to go next as in first? I've had a lot of coffee, so I'm just I just have a lot of energy. So who wants to go first? I see 18 people, so I'm just going to, oh, Matt. So Matt, my question for you is, you're hearing me correctly, right?
Yes.
Yeah, that's not my question. So my question is, they say that we are the sum total of our experiences. And I believe that there are certain experiences in life that change us forever. Do you have had any experiences like that that has changed you forever and changed the way you have thought about life in general?
Oh, thank you, Mr. Table Topics Master, for this very important question. Have I had any experiences that have changed my life forever? I don't even know where to start with that question. I've had many experiences and I feel like my life has been changed for sure. The experiences that I think have changed my life the most have been the uncomfortable ones, hard ones. And they have to do with being forced to confront really difficult things, really hard truths about the world around me. They're often connected to the stories of people. And so when I have been faced right up front with devastating and difficult stories from people that I care about and I learn about them, my life has absolutely changed. And I've talked in the past about stories that I've heard from some Toastmasters members, actually in particular, a couple of men from Afghanistan, and one of them who I got to know, and his story opened up about his having to leave his home country of Afghanistan because of war, and then being a refugee in Pakistan and the police brutalizing his father in front of him a few times, at least when he was about 10 and 12 years old, working in a factory as a child, and things like this that I, coming from where I'm from in the comfortable America, had never had any experience like that. Never known anyone that I cared about that much to hear a story like that so personally, and it's transfigured my life absolutely to hear that story, and many others parts of his life that came to me over time. And so hearing this story made me really uncomfortable and absolutely unable not to care about it and think about what I could do to help. Mr. Table Topics Master.
Thank you, Matt. That was an excellent answer. Who wants to go next? Remember that anybody from the audience can participate. Everybody is welcome to participate in this. Who wants to go next? I see Destin. So, Destin, so here's my question. Sometimes in life you go through certain experiences that are meant to be painful, such as a very tough semester or a very long weight loss experience or anything like that. And when people go through that experience and you ask them, would you do it again? They say, oh yes, I wouldn't change it for a word. So my question to you is, has there been any experience for you like that, that if you could do it, you wouldn't change a single thing about it? And if yes, would you like to share it with us?
You muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, so I do have one experience that completely changed my life and that I will never trade with something else. It will be my first job when I was doing my last semester at my last year at the university back home. I applied for a job as a teacher in one school that was near to my university. And I remember that I worked for that school only 2 hours a week, and I was paid about $2 per hour. So, which is like a great amount in my country. And that experience showed me that the most satisfying thing about working with children was not the money that I could earn from that job, but the satisfaction of a well-done job. So seeing my pupil, my students happy with the way I was teaching them, with the way I was giving them the knowledge, made my face glowing. And it was like I was transfigured by seeing them rewarding me with their smile, with their good results. And yeah, I would not change that experience with anything in my life. Because of course I didn't have a lot of money from that, but the experience was worth it. So yes, that was my story. That was one of the experiences that I would not change with anything else. Mr. Table Topic Masters.
Thank you, Destin. So who wants to go next? Chitra. Is it Chitra or Bhakti? Because
my hand.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Chitra, my question for you is, I believe that more than the good experiences, the bad ones shape you. Do you agree with that? So, and why? That's my question.
Hello, everybody. I understand that life is a series of dominoes, that one falls and everything comes into place at the end. So I learn more from the bad experiences than the good ones. Bad experiences tell you what not to do and shape you for a better, good one next time. When I came to RIT, one skill that I hadn't learned and which was necessary for my survival was how to cook. And over the years, those burnt pots, burnt spots in the kitchen, and many fire alarms have taught me more. They have not only taught me to cook better, they have also been a time where we can all meet, everybody in the house, meet and connect with each other at that time. It's been like a time where we can all join in together and have fun with our friends and learn from the mistakes what we did and learn from others' mistake if they have done something. So
from being a person who didn't know how to even boil water to can, and still doesn't know probably, I guess. uh, the process of the whole thing is what has been gratifying, and I feel that transfiguring experience will lead to somewhere to meet new people more. To you, Toastmasters Anay.
Thank you, Chitra. I think we are still in time. So who wants to go next? This is the last question that I have. So is ready. Arif. Arif. Okay, so this is a little bit big question. So one of my favorite songs in Hindi has this line which I really like, which is a story that you cannot put an end to. You should turn it into something beautiful and just leave it. So has there been any situation in your life where you felt like the things were going out of your control and you had or they were not going your own way, and you still managed to make something positive out of it, and you still managed to get through it positively? If there has been, can you share us about your experience about that?
Yeah, sure. Hi everyone, can you guys hear me fine?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there are things which we always like to happen in our way, but it might not fall into the exact way that we want it to be. Like it can be something like affectionate towards some person, or it can be something regards to your job, for rewarding from your managers or stuff like that. So in my recent experience, I got in touch with someone with whom I thought of spending more time, not for a longer life or such, but at least to know more about the person, and maybe if everything goes good, to get along and get married and stuff. But situations turned into way where I have to move from that location to some other place, and I haven't had much of gelling with the person that I want to know more about and stuff. So I kind of the person that whom I'm trying to know more about was also interested in knowing more about me, but we haven't had much quality of time to spend together. So I kind of gave them all the good feelings that I have about them, and gave them a message that would like to be in touch and know more about them, even though if I'm not with them together in person. That kind of message that I gave to her transfigured her facial expressions, uh, listening to my message. So I kind of left it positive in that way towards them, and then I moved out of the city. Uh, 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 we never know. Maybe we might get back in touch again and connect it from where we have left. Back to you, Toastmaster, table topic speaker.
Thank you, Arif, for sharing that story. So I'm out of questions now. So I'll just turn this to a beautiful end. And with that, I'll just ask the timer. Were all the speakers within time? All right. And Mr. Grammarian, did everybody use the word of the day?
Yes, all of them used the word of the day.
All right. So you will get a poll to vote for the best table topics speaker, and that poll will be created by Chitra. So once you get that poll, you just vote in and vote for the best table topics. So with that, I'll handle the control over to the Toastmaster Grant.
Thank you, Not Today. Now, I see the poll just popped up on my screen, so please vote for your favorite table topics speaker. And in the meantime, we will go over to the general evaluations. The general evaluator for this evening is Ajita, and I asked her the same question, what's one thing you've been pushing off doing or trying? And she responded back saying that she wants to learn the tabla or sitar. Now, for those who aren't aware, like I was just 2 hours ago, they are both considered Hindustani classical music instruments, commonly used in Hindustani music. And so the more you know, I guess. With that being said, let's turn control over to Ajita for the general evaluations.
Thank you, Grant. Evaluations is one of the important part of our meeting because we get to learn so much from others' speech where we can take some part of their evaluation and apply it to our speech next time. It is a great opportunity to learn and improve. The way we will proceed with this section is we will first hear from all our evaluators about the evaluation of the prepared speeches. Then I will call upon the functionaries for their report, and then I will share some of my thoughts about the meeting in general. Before we proceed, I would like to call upon our timer for the day for the timing rules of evaluation. Mr. Timer.
Thank you very much, General Evaluator. Today, for the prepared speeches, everybody was on time except for Alasera. And for the table topics, everybody was on time.
Thank you, Cyril. Can you also tell us the rules of timing for our evaluators? How much time do they have for the evaluation?
2 to 3 minutes, right? Yeah.
So moving ahead, our first speech was given by Bhakti, and evaluating Bhakti was Hassan. I asked Hassan one question, that given a choice, what is that one thing which you would like to change in your life? And to that, Hassan's answer was, I would like to change the way I sleep. And he wants to be able to sleep whenever he wants because he's having problems sleeping early nowadays, which affects his next day. So let's welcome Hassan to share his evaluation of Bhakti's speech.
Thank you very much, Ajita. Hello, everyone. Hello, Bhakti. Bhakti decided to repeat your speech, which is not something easy, but you did it well. I really like the fact that you added visual aids in your speech, which is really important for speech about anime. It really helps people see what is really anime, what's the difference between what, you know. Personally, I didn't know what anime is before I saw your visual aids. It really helped me understand that anime is not really what I was thinking. And you really did a good research for your speech about the history of the anime. You also told a lot about the authors, people I didn't know before that. Something that didn't change in your speech is the fact that you really always have humor notes. And I really like the picture with the dog watching anime. It was really funny. I really like it. I know that for your speech you wanted to put emphasis on vocal variety. So you did well, for instance, for the volume. I think everybody was able to understand you. You really talked with the right volume. You also played with the pace of the voice. For instance, when you're citing people who may be interested in anime, you really went like your friends, your family, even your dog, which is really good. But there are also some, okay, I forgot to talk about it. You also did good for the pauses. For instance, when you were talking about the history of anime, you said it started with the World War II, and you had a short pause before explaining what happened at that time. What to improve from your speech? I would say, like you are really interesting in vocal variety. You would have played with the pitch to show that you are really excited about the anime. For instance, when citing Pokemon or Dragon Ball Z, you could have said, for instance, Dragon Ball, Pokemon. Show that you really liked this famous anime. And something also important for a speech about researching and presenting is to cite your source. It's really important because it gives credibility to your speech. Also helps people who are interested to learn to know more about anime to go through research by their own. And there's something also to improve is gestures. It's true that it was a presentation, but still you could have more gestures when talking, when delivering a speech. But it was really a great speech. You really transfigured your speech, and look forward for the next one. Thank you.
Thank you, Hassan, for that wonderful evaluation. Moving ahead, our second speech was given by Xavier, and evaluating Xavier is Kelly. I also asked Kelly the same question, what is that one thing which you would like to change in your life? And she said that the first thing which comes to her mind is that she wants to change how she views feeling guilty. Instead of using it as a crutch or excuse, she wants to use it as a motivating force for action or to change how she responds to others so that she can feel at peace and freedom that comes with living a guilt-free life. Let's hear from Kelly what she has to say about Xavier's speech. Kelly.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, guests, and especially Xavier. Thank you for giving us another well-prepared speech. I thought you began with a really good introduction of what we are going to expect for the rest of the speech. And I personally, when I first got your speech title and everything, I thought it was going to be very techy, and it actually wasn't. It was more personal and really applicable. So I appreciated you bringing it to us in that way, which is helping to engage the audience. And for those of us who are not very techy, not to get too lost in it. Also, you use the word of the day, which the grammarian probably will point out as well, but using transfigure in your speech, I think that was probably a spontaneous way to do notion. So way to incorporate that today. You use the rules of three really well. You had 3 points about reflecting, bringing a buddy, and having a system of journaling. Also, you described 3 people. So using those rules of 3. And in my mind, thinking about Preetham, I think of him as a visionary. I think of Justin as attacking action and Alex as the excitement or encourager. So you really encapsulated each person and gave them a word, which was really great to be able to reflect on. And then also, you didn't even stop there with talking about other people. Then you included your own story about it and some change that happened in your life. So that was a wonderful way to use your heart, which is one of the things I know that you wanted to include in your speech tonight. Also, for those of you who didn't see, he included a worksheet or the website to go to in order to help lay out this speech tonight. It's on the Zoom group chat, so make sure you check that out. I think it will be very helpful for helping others be able to use that in the future. A couple things to improve on. I think that your conclusion, oh, he just sent it again, thank you. The conclusion, I thought you sped it up a little bit. It seemed like a fast wrap up. So I think summarizing kind of all the points that you mentioned throughout your speech and then bringing that quote in at the end about notion being the change, I really liked that. So there was a good way to end it, but maybe bring us into that a little bit more slowly in the future. Also, I would have liked to see more details about maybe what some of your research was that Notion has helped you with. I know it's about 3D printing, but that's about all I know. So having a little more detail about that in your introduction, I think would have been helpful. Overall, it was an excellent speech, and I also thought maybe you could use a descriptor for you. You know, you use one for Alex, Justin, and Preetham, but having something for yourself as well. As I said, it was a really well-prepared speech. Thank you for sharing it and helping us to be more engaged and challenging us to go a step further. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Kelly, for those wonderful inputs on Xavier's speech. Moving ahead, our third speech was given by Alasara, and evaluating Alasara was Preetham. I asked Preetham the same question, and his answer to that was one thing which he wants to change is he wants to change his body and get a body that has wings. so that he can fly to places, and that way he does not have to pay any car insurance or wait for any traffic jams. Let's hear from Preetham what he has to say about Alasara's speech. Preetham.
Thank you, Ajita. Alasara's project today was to share his experience of coaching someone. And Alasara, like, it was wonderful. You nailed it. You met the project objective of sharing that experience of how you mentored that guy, Jigiba, if I'm spelling his name right. So Alasara, there are few things that you are really good at. And those things are your humor. You can use humor really well. Very unexpectedly, you put humor, you can make people laugh. And the voices that you do, it feels like you're a seasoned actor. How you change your voices. The other thing that I really appreciate about your speech is the way you use pauses. So you pause after every sentence, allowing us to absorb what you just said. So those are the things you really do very well. There are some things that you could do to transfigure your speech to the next level. And I think that thing, what I have been seen missing in your speech is the storytelling part. Okay, so if you look at the story you said, it had a character, it was Jijiba, and it was you. So the way you could set up a story, I was not able to get in the beginning, where is this coming from? Okay, so if you look at the story has three parts, right? The setting in which everything is happening, the characters in that story, and the dialogues. So if you start the story by giving us the setting, okay, this is, I am coaching a robotics team, and this is the characters, this is the guy I'm intimately connected with, I am coaching and mentoring. That would give us a good understanding of what is happening and where you are going. So that was the thing that you could improve. The other thing that I noticed, especially on a Zoom call, when people are sitting closer to a computer, their voices are more clearly audible. When they step away from the computer, it's a little difficult to hear that. Maybe you can work around that by using a wireless microphone, but that is something that I have noticed. If people are closer to the computer, it's easier to hear. So something to keep in mind for future speeches. So, Alasara, you have some great qualities of, you are great at using humor, you use pauses really well, and you can change your voice very well. To change your speech and improve it, what I would suggest is to follow the storytelling structure. I know I have told it to you before, but I would tell it to you again. Just follow the storytelling structure. Give us the setting, the characters, and you are good at using the dialogues. So just put in the storytelling structure and your speeches will be fantastic. That's all I have for you, Alasara. And with that, I hand it back to our general evaluator, Ajita.
Thank you, Preetham, for your evaluation. Moving ahead, let's hear from our functionaries regarding their report of the meeting. So first, I would like to call upon our timer to give us the timer's report for today. I think you're on mute, Cyril.
I was transfigured by the speeches, and I gave a part of the report before the time of the report, actually. So yeah, for the prepared speeches, everybody was on time, as I mentioned previously, except for Alasara, who was a little bit over 6:30 minutes. And for the table topics, everybody was on time, and for the evaluations, everybody was on time.
Thank you, Cyril. Next up, let's hear from our counter, Alex, regarding his report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, fellow Toastmasters, our welcome guests. Today was a great night for filler words. We did not have very many in any of our prepared speeches. I did notice a few filler words from some of our functionaries. Tonight, I especially noticed a few filler words in your presentation of the table topics, I want to highlight a few things that we did especially well. Alicera did a fantastic job with pauses. And pauses are one way for you to avoid those filler words. Simply stop and take some time to think about what you're going to say next and continue with your speech. One thing to be thinking about as you're getting ready, especially for prepared speeches, is to have your introduction ready to go. Alicera did a great job. I was, I am, maybe I will be. That's a great opening. I still remember it word for word because it was so clearly remembered. And when you enter into a speech without a prepared opening, sometimes you'll do so right in the beginning. And I noticed that with I can't remember which of the other prepared speakers it was. Another filler word. Turn it back over to our general evaluator.
Thank you, Alex. Let's hear from our grammarian, Sridhar, regarding his report.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. I'll start with the word of the day usage. Hassan used it twice, and Alasara used it in his speech, and Xavier, and all the table topics used it. And for the evaluations, and Preetham used it, and Hassan used it. For the Xavier speech, where I like the title of your speech. Maybe it's time to change. And also you used, I noticed that you used a metaphor, putting a brakes on a pedal when you were talking to Alex. And I noticed something in Preetham's speech was you named that you used a metaphor. And that's
Thank you, Sridhar, for that short and sweet report. Now, moving ahead, I will give my evaluation of the overall meeting. We had a wonderful meeting today where we learned about so many different topics, where Bhakti shared about anime's history, and it was something different where you shared a lot of details in PPT, which I really liked. And then Xavier also shared about this new tool which we could use. And apart from that, something which we could improve on as a team, as a Tigertales team, is let's join this meeting just 2 minutes before. Whoever has functionary roles, let's try to join 2 minutes before so that we can start exactly on time. Today we had to start with one member missing, but we thought he will anyways join in his role later. So let's start to join on time or just 2 minutes before the time. One more thing which I wanted to add, which went really well, is we all have started using this virtual platform really well, where I see people standing up and giving speeches. And I would like to reiterate what Preetham said, is sometimes when you move back, the volume reduces, but still it's very good to see people using this space and being more expressive during their speech. It does make a lot of difference when we hear it and we see when people stand up and give speeches. So overall, it was a wonderful meeting. Now I would like to hand it back to our Toastmaster of the Day, Grant.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Now I'd like to present the winner of the table topics, but first I'd like to point out how nice it is seeing new faces stepping up to do these table topic speeches, as Alex was pointing out in the chat there. I really appreciate those who don't come very often, but do give table topic speeches, especially if they're newer. Now, I do have the winner of the table topics for this evening. If you could have a drum roll now. Winner is Destin. Congratulations, Destin. I will be giving you your imaginary chocolate bar right now. I hope you received it.
Yeah, I did. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's all in here.
Yeah.
With that being done, I'd like to return control to our president, Hassan, to finish the meeting off.
Thank you very much, Grant. You really did a good job today as the Toastmaster of the day. Before we conclude, I would like to tell you that last week, Ming Shu attended the meeting as a guest. Now he is a member of the club. Welcome to Tigertales, Ming Shu.
Yeah, I'm very happy to join you.
Look forward to listening to your first speech and also watching you playing your roles, the first roles.
Yeah. So do I need to introduce myself in a formal way?
Yeah, you'll do it like during your first speech that we call the icebreaker.
Yeah.
You will have a mentor who will help you like to craft the speech and to repeat before that.
So, thank you.
You're welcome. Congratulations also to Destin, who won the table topics, and look forward also to listening to your first speech. I think you didn't do your icebreaker, right? Okay, so maybe next week or in 2 weeks. And we had a guest today, only one guest, is Arif. Arif, who decided to step in and to talk during table topics. I would like to have your feedback, Arif, about the meeting and the club in general.
Hi everyone. I really enjoyed joining this meeting today. I joined without any expectation or any knowledge of what's going to happen. All I know about the meeting was Hassan told me that we are trying to improve our skills for public speaking and stuff. It caught my attention and I said, can you forward me the meeting? He did right away. I joined. It was really, really good. I like the setup that you guys had. How you call the Toastmaster, Time Master, General Evaluator, Madam General. Those are really good, really good. And the things that you are doing to get attention of the people, like shaking the hands, making sure that everyone is participating, engaged with the people. These things, the tricks that you are using, it's really good. In my professional life, my job is always dealing with people on meetings, especially these days virtually. I can use these tricks that I took from you, especially for the timing, the timer master showing the colorful stickies and the signs, making sure that people are engaged and all that. This is really good. I hope everyone enjoyed. I really enjoyed it. I hope to join once again. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Arif. Hope you will attend next meeting, and also maybe why not joining the club. And if you are really interested joining the club, you can talk to Bhapi, who is our VP membership. He will tell you what to do. This was really a great meeting. Good to see again Mami, who is in New Jersey or New York, I don't know.
I'm in Atlanta now.
Yeah, Atlanta now. Oh, okay, you're really far from Rochester. Good to see you, Mami.
We'll see you too, guys.
To the end of the meeting. See you next week.